So it's my privilege now to introduce our cleanup hitter this evening before our program with my pet dragon, of Jeff Hoffman. Jeff is a legendary entrepreneur. He has founded multiple successful tech businesses, including he was a founder at Priceline. He is currently the chairman of the Global Entrepreneurial Network, which is a significant organization accelerating entrepreneurship around the world. He also is a best-selling author. He has produced Hollywood movie. He has an Emmy award-winning TV show. He's won the Grammy for a jazz album, and he just isn't very ambitious. But he's really a remarkable guy with a remarkable story with a lot of incredible wisdom to share, and he's a mission guy. So with that, please give a rousing welcome to my friend Jeff Hoffman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about the power of entrepreneurship and why it's so important and what it really means. For me personally, I was very, very blessed in my own career. Our companies, Priceline.com, Booking.com, Ubid.com, the startups that I was part of, we were blessed enough to grow them into multi-billion-dollar companies. We did, as Michael mentioned, a television company startup and then won 2 Emmys. We did a music startup and won a Grammy. And I was sitting one day and thinking about the fact that, especially when we talk about mission, that the blessings in this world are not fairly distributed. I've been blessed many times over, way more than I deserve, and there were a lot of people out there struggling. And I started to think about the fact that the reason I was able to live the life that I was living was really because of one simple thing, because I adopted the mindset and the skill set of entrepreneurship. And as I traveled all around the world, our nonprofit Global Entrepreneurship Network is now in 200 countries with a simple mission. We teach people how to help themselves by giving them the mindset and the skill set of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not a job, right? It's a tool set. In fact, I don't like the word entrepreneurship because when I ask people if they want to be an entrepreneur, they tell me that they don't know how to build apps, they don't know how to build websites, they think it's about tech, business, and money. Entrepreneurship, if I could rename it, I would just call it self-determination. Entrepreneurship is the mindset that says, I want a better future and I'm willing to build it. It's also the tool set that enables you to build it. I was advising back in the Obama days, the president on entrepreneurship, and he had a program, and Hillary, as Secretary of State, had a program. And one day, I came back from a trip I'm about to tell you about, and they both asked me, define, how is it out there? What is the state of entrepreneurship? What does it mean to people in the world? And I wrote something on the wall in the White House there. I wrote, entrepreneurship is the shovel you use to dig a path to a brighter future. Because that's the way I see it. It's the tool. You have to want a brighter future, and you have to do the digging. But the problem that's out there right now is that as we travel around the world, including this country, I started to notice that it's really clear that intelligence is equally distributed across the human race. Opportunity is not, and resources are not. We can't help all the people. Sometimes I have hard trouble sleeping because I come back from a trip and I wish I could have helped everybody I met, whether it's in the south side of Chicago or in Tanzania, and we can't. So the answer is to teach them how to help themselves and wait for the ripple effect to occur. That is the power of entrepreneurship. And I just want to share a couple of quick stories with you about how powerful entrepreneurship is. If everybody in this room commits, I'll tell you what my commitment was. When I quit being a CEO after the last company, I made a commitment and I said, I've learned a lot along the way, right? We've had failures, our successes, but along the way, I've been able to acquire a lot of knowledge how to take an idea and turn it into a profitable business. And I said, my commitment is I will share everything I've ever learned with as many people as I possibly can for the rest of my life, to give other people their chance to go live a blessed life. If you feel like you have a good life, which everybody in this room does, you should be sharing everything that you know. So organizationally, by the way, that's why I'm here. Well, I'm here because Peggy's very persistent. And I thank you and Catherine for getting me here. But Michael, when you first started talking about the Mission Summit and a focus on actually having a mission, and as you guys were talking about, a purpose and not just building businesses to make another dollar, I think we're all here because we all have that commitment. So Obama asked me to go to Egypt post-revolution. And he said, teach them entrepreneurship. The only problem with that was it was not post-revolution, which we thought it was. I went over to Egypt. I felt like a peddler on the streets. I'm walking up and down with my cart. Who wants some entrepreneurship? Step right up. Nobody did. They were still dodging bullets, and I felt like they were like, yeah, we're right in the middle of a revolution. Could you come back after dinner? So I gave up. No one's interested in entrepreneurship. But one young lady in Egypt, I pulled her aside, and I said, I get that the word entrepreneurship means nothing to you, but what do you want, right? What is your vision? And she, sorry, this is a real story, but she walked me down to Tahrir Square, where everything happened. And when we got down to Tahrir Square, she pointed down to the concrete in the middle of the square where the revolution was. And she said, right here. And I said, right here what? And she said, right here, I held my brother in my arms while he died the night of the revolution. The soldiers shot him through the throat. And I stood there and my heart sank. And I was sick to my stomach. And then she looked up and she said, Mr. Hoffman, can I show you my business idea? And I said, okay, let me catch my breath. I said, how do you go from that to this? And she said, oh, I'll tell you why. She said, that's why we fought the revolution. We fought for the freedom to design our own future, the future of our families, ourselves, our country, right? The rest of the world. That is what entrepreneurship is for. And I said, okay, that makes sense. How can I help you? And she told me about a business idea that she had post-revolution, because in her case, remember the Arab Spring, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, she said all of a sudden, not only the people, but the women have never been able to start a business. They've never been able to own one. They've never been able to do any of these things. She said, I have a vision for a better future for my country, for the women in Egypt, for Muslim women. And she said, I just literally have no idea how to start. So she knew what she wanted to do to make things better. She did not have the resources, the skill set, the tool set of entrepreneurship. I have been mentoring her ever since. And just to give you guys an idea of the power of entrepreneurship, Mia's company today is a company called Supermama. She has helped 1 million Muslim women learn how to start a business from home to gain economic independence and freedom. That is the power of entrepreneurship, mentoring one person and teaching them how and watching the ripple effect occur. Later, I was in Peru, and there was a young girl named Mariana, and they said, Jeff, Mariana wants to meet you. And so I went out to meet her. This is where Mariana lives. These are, if you've ever been to Peru, 5% of most South American countries, 5% of the people own the whole country. The other 95% are poor. The poor people live in houses made of trash on the hills, okay? As a matter of fact, it was so bad here, this is down in Peru where I was, that I was watching an old lady who had to go, you see there's no water or electricity, who had to go down and get water and bring it up, but it was rainy season. And this hill was all mud. And she got halfway up and she slipped and fell face down in the mud and slid all the way back down, and nobody did anything. You know what they said to me? That's just life here. And you know what I said? If we taught these people how to improve things, they probably would. On a complete side note, my company went back and we built stairways on all those hills now. So now there's stairways and railings so people don't fall anymore. But I met Mariana, and Mariana's story is this. Mariana is a teenage girl in South America, 16 years old. And one day, living like that in these kind of homes, she asked her mom, they were sending their son, her brother, away to college, to school, to university. And she said, when I'm old enough, in 2 years, I get to go. And her mother said, yeah, no. The harsh reality in places like South America is, this is true, they send the boys away to school. And her daughter said, what happens to me? And her mother said, you're looking at it. You'll be barefoot and pregnant and living in a house made out of trash. Mariana said, that's not good enough for me. Okay, this is all way before I ever got there. So you know what she started doing? She started walking 2.5 hours from here into Lima every day, going to a public library for 6 months, and she taught herself to write code. That is pretty darn impressive initiative. But you know what she was doing that she wanted to talk to me about? She was squatting in an empty building, and every day she was walking through these slums. She was interviewing teenage South American girls. She was picking the smartest ones. They were walking 5 hours round trip every day to a location where they were squatting in, and she was teaching them how to write code. Do you know what happens to those young girls when they learn to write code? Well, let me show you what we've done since then. This is actually me down in Peru with all the girls. Since then, we have built 7 coding schools for teenage girls in South America in 4 different countries. These girls make more money building websites. If you go out to Fiverr or some of those online systems and order a website, it might be being built right now by 5, 16-year-old girls in Peru, and you'll never know the difference because they're so damn smart. They just weren't enabled. 7 schools now, hundreds of girls. They make more money than their entire families, and they move their families into town, into houses, because of their coding skills. All started by one girl. That's Mariana in front of me with the glasses on. She's just to my left there, or to the right if you're looking at it. That's the girl that started all of this, and hundreds of families. Well, probably thousands now all over. Again, the power of entrepreneurship is to enable people with intelligence, passion, and ideas to tell them how to do the thing that they want to do. By the way, just another little side note, we used to host this thing called the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. My organization still hosts the Global Entrepreneurship Congress, but during the Obama days, we hosted an event that we did with Obama called the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. What was interesting to me was, and this is the power of mentorship, which everybody in this room should be either be an entrepreneur or mentor one, right? There's no excuse not to. Those 2 girls that came out of the Egyptian Revolution and literally the slums of Peru, the White House at our event decided that they would find a couple of entrepreneurs that proved the power of entrepreneurship. I walked into this room and took this picture. I was late for the event, and I literally had tears in my eyes. Sitting between President Obama and Mark Zuckerberg are my 2 mentees, the girls I just told you about. That's Mia and Mariana on a stage with the President of the US and Mark Zuckerberg. That's what happens when we share the power of entrepreneurship. I just want to kind of wrap up with one other thing. This never ends. Whether, like I said, it's in Detroit, whether it's in Dallas, wherever it is, the opportunity for us to teach people how to help themselves and let that pebble in the pond create a ripple effect is absolutely massive. I actually did, very quickly, I did one thing one day. After I retired from being a CEO, I took a year off and I did a year of yes. And I told nobody this. For 1 year, I decided to say yes to any human being that asked me for help anywhere in the world, but I didn't tell anybody. I won't make any money. I won't go to my office. I won't do any deals. I'll just say yes for a year as a way to give back in exchange for the blessings I received. The second thing I got was an email from a young man in West Africa in that village, and it said, "Dear Mr. Hoffman, I know you won't read this, and if you do, I know you won't reply." And I was like, oh, it's on now, okay? I literally got on a plane, my year of yes, and I went to this village in West Africa, and this young man said to me, "We live in homes made of mud. There are 20 families here. We have no water, no electricity, but I got an idea." So all these years later now, we've been working with him ever since. He is the CEO. He has 350 employees in 7 West African countries, and he builds them houses with water and electricity, and they pay him back through the rest of their lifetime through payroll deduction. That is the power of entrepreneurship. Today, we did an experiment, and I'm saying this because we'll probably do it again, and I invite people in this room, if you're especially a young entrepreneur, I'll have my contact info on this last slide here. You're welcome to reach out, and if you're an experienced business person, you can mentor. But we wanted to prove that this next generation was willing to fix the world. We chartered a ship. We filled it with entrepreneurs. We sailed literally around the planet Earth. We stopped all over the world and showed entrepreneurs the world's problems, and they created solutions. I would love to invite you guys to join us anytime. The power of entrepreneurship is the force that will change the world. Thank you so much for giving me a few minutes.
Thank you.